and I can be cloaked in St. John from head to toe. But if freedom is not the greatest accessory that I am rocking, then I can be, dictated to by anyone, which means, and if I'm dictated to, it means they tell me who I am, why I am. That could be a television show, a reality show, a producer, a business deal. You can be navigated out of who you be way too easily. 15% of our success is based on our skill, our knowledge, our talent, our education, 4 things. But then that leaves a huge number, 85%. 85% is based on who we be. Do you know who and why you are? And do you know who and why you're assigned in this world? Do you know? And if you know those things, then you can't be negotiated out of anything. So when it comes to being in a world dominated with men, I talk numbers, I talk domination, I talk sales, mastering conversion. I am a beast when it comes to accelerating your profit, the profit of your life and the profit of your business. And I don't feel any issue being at a table and in a room full of men because I honor who they are and I know who I am. And I shine deeply, which means it gives them the permission to uniquely be themselves. And so then we grant permission 360 around one another, and it's glorious.
Wow. I hear you saying that you have to know if you're positive and because the way I hear you talk is very positive, you're very confident. So if you're positive and confident and you know who you are, you're going to be okay wherever you go and do business. Is that correct?
I think it's greater than positive. I think it's intentional.
Okay.
When you're intentional and you know your why. That's a distinction. Because when you're intentional and you know your why, positivity is a byproduct of intentionality.
Okay. All right. I love that. So let me ask you a question. Are you reading any books currently? And if you are, tell us what books you're reading and how they're affecting your life.
Oh, okay. Great. I love talking about reading books. First of all, I read books all the time. All the time. I always have at least 5 books that I'm reading. So one of my favorite books right now is Affirmations, and it's by Noah St. John.
Oh, yeah.
And and so Noah is a facilitator in my mastermind program for my Money Movers Academy, which is an elite group of entrepreneurial leaders that I work with in direct sales, financial services industry, real estate, speakers, coaches, across the board. If they're looking to accelerate in life or in business, they're part of my academy. And so Noah St. John is one of my mastermind facilitators. He's a brand new friend for me, and I love him. He'll be here in San Antonio, Texas for my live event that I'm doing here in 2015 and in 2016. So I love Noah. So I would suggest everybody pick up that book to really transcend positive thinking into being able to create an intentional reality. Another book that I'm reading was referred to me by a super friend of mine, Alduan's Hart, out of Atlanta. And that book is called Influencer, and it is the new science of leading change. And it's by the same writers who wrote Crucial Conversations. So, it has several different authors because they're all scientists. So I couldn't even name all the authors if I tried, but it's called Influencers, the new science of leading change. And then I am always reading Grant Cardone's book, 10X. Grant Cardone is a phenomenal leader in sales, in life, in business. He's a mentor to me, and I just adore him. So, he's got several books. If you're not first, you're last. He's got 10X. And I read, all of his books, Sell or Be Sold. I read all of his books. And then I always have an anecdotal book, meaning a book that has like many little stories, M-I-N-I, right, little stories. And so one that just came in the mail that I fell in love with, Terry, I think you would love it too. It's called 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class. And it's by Steve Seibold. And so I read that every single day. And then not only do I read, but I'm on YouTube every day. I am a lifelong learner. Aren't you? I mean, don't you just love,
definitely.
ingesting new data all the time?
I sure do. And what I'll do is when I listen to the callers, I interview on Monday, so I may talk to maybe 8 people, and I write all the books down, and I actually kind of try to figure which one I'm going to read next, and that's actually how I find a lot of the books, just from the speakers on the show. So. One more question. I'm going to ask you about failures in business. Have you had failures in business? If you did, how did you handle it? And then how did you turn those failures into success?
Oh, God. Oh, Lord, have I had failures in business? I have had so many failures in business, and I've had failures in business that I named failures, and when I look back, they were saviors.
That's good.
You know, and they saved me from myself, what I thought was going to be a win, or what I named a win. I really needed that failure to propel me forward. You know, one of the greatest failures that I experienced was I had done an internship with a speaker and created her coaching outline. This was maybe in early 2000, and I'm 37 now. I was 24 at the time, so it was years ago. And I wasn't making, I went and worked for her for 2 years for $25 a week. And I called my sister and my brother-in-law, and I said, listen, I want to do this internship. I want to be, a speaker. I really believe I've got this calling. Mother Teresa says when you step into your purpose, what happens for you is you discover callings within callings. So a lot of people think they just have one calling, and really it grows over time. And so I said, listen, I've got this big vision. I've got this big idea, but I don't know all of it, and I got to go do this internship. I want to sell my car. I want to move out of my apartment. Can I move in with you guys? And they said yes, and they let me move into their mother-in-law suite and eat their food and use their gas money, thank God, for family and for tribes that believe in you. But when I left that internship, Terry, I thought I should just instinctively win. Like I thought, I have put my time in. I did the work. I should win now. It's kind of like going to the gym and you need to lose 25 pounds, and you go for a week and you're like, why isn't it dropping off? Surely I should be at 25 pounds or at least by now. And what I didn't realize at the time is that you've got to continue to invest in who you are and also who you choose to be. You've got to continue to pay it forward. I wasn't clear on that. I was in my 20s. I mean, in your 20s, you think everything comes at microwave speed. And and so I didn't realize I was on a slow road to my greatness. And I interviewed for a job with a company called Simon Malls. And Simon, well-known all across the globe, and they offered me this position. And, Terry, this position was going to pay, I think, like $90,000 a year plus bonuses. And, girl, listen, I was 20-whatever years old, 26 by that time. And I thought, oh, Lord Jesus, this is it. Like, I'm going to make $100,000 a year. With my bonuses, it's going to be, about $115,000. I have made it. This is it. I just realized, I was like, we have hit the mother lode. Who wouldn't think I was 26 years old? And, just to speed up the story, I didn't get the job.
Wow. And
the job required that you have an MBA, actually, and I didn't have an undergraduate. I beat out over 200 candidates. I was down to the final 2, and part of what they were negotiating in my contract was that I would have 2 years to get my undergraduate done, and then I would have to accelerate to get my graduate done, and they would pay for it all. So they really expressed how much they wanted me, so I just thought I was in, but I didn't get the job.
Wow.
And when I didn't get the job, I was so depressed. I thought I wasn't good enough.
I can imagine.
I thought, why wasn't I good enough? Remember how I said 15% of your success, skill, knowledge, talent, education, 85% who you be? My beingness was so connected to rejection and wounding that instead of looking at it and saying, if I got that close, See, you got to understand, Terry, if you get that close to something that you want, it's yours. It may not be yours through the avenue immediately that you see, but, baby, it's yours. You don't get that close to something, and it's not yours to ascertain. It's yours to navigate. You may have just jumped into a pothole. Climb yourself out. Seaweed on you, stinking, sewage on you, whatever. Get out and go to the next opportunity. You've got to learn to fail fast and to fail forward and understand that failure is never final. It is only feedback to get you to the next best step to fulfill your supreme destiny, which is always waiting for you. The universe is always conspiring for our good. And at that moment, I felt like the universe was setting me up for bad. And because I thought that, I perpetuated that. I went into a tailspin. I went into a tailspin of depression. And long story short, I got a call about 3 years later. I did not know that the senior vice president was on my mailing list, Terry. She calls me and says, she sends me an email first and says, "Hey, Allyson, this is so-and-so. I'd love to talk to you. Please call me." I call her right away, and I said, "Hi." And she said, "Hi." She said, "Listen, I wanted to tell you something. I wanted to tell you that I don't know if this has ever bothered you, why we didn't choose you. But I want you to understand that regardless of why we didn't choose you, I want to give you closure on why, number one. But number two, I want you to know I have followed you for 3 years. You were so impactful to me." And she said, "And I want to say to you that if I would have given you that job, Allyson, you would never be where you are today. You would never have created what you've created. And I want you to know that I am so massively proud of you. I want you to know that I see you and that you are so necessary for what you're doing today." And she said, "I just want to celebrate you. And not only that, I want you to come in and train my team."
Wow, that is awesome. Powerful
So what
story.
I thought was a failure, what I knew, my grandmother used to call it in your knower. Girl, you just know in your knower. I knew I was a failure. I had held that as a withhold against myself within myself for years. You weren't good enough. You should have said this. You should have done that. And she, in an 8-minute conversation, gave me permission to be free. Now, the thing that I learned in that moment was I had to be the one to give myself permission quicker, sooner, faster. I should never have needed that from her. Sometimes we do. And I'm not saying I was bad because I did. I was just emotionally immature. But that was one of my greatest failures that turned out to be one of my greatest lessons. Lessons just come wrapped in sandpaper. And when they do, we have to look at what is it sloughing off of me and how can I move forward quicker, sooner, faster. We got to be like Tigger. We fall, but we bounce back up.
Right. I like how you said that, see, there was still a positive that came out of it, because I know there's people that's on this call and they, something negative has happened and they keep, dwelling in the negative. And if nothing else, I got from it that, there's always a reason for the negative. So and it all going to turn, and I believe it'll all turn around for the good in some sort of way, just like it turned around in the good for you. Because if you, like she said, if you had got hired there, you probably wouldn't have built what you built. And that's what I've learned about failures, is that when the things that have kept me down, I spoke with another young lady right before you, and that's what she actually was saying the same thing, is that her negative thing turned around to why she is now actually traveling the world, making 7 figures now. It's because of her negative. So I like to hear these stories over and over again, because it's going to help somebody that comes back to this call on a daily basis. So I have one last question, but before I do, I'm going to come back. We'll be right back, and I have a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Have you ever wanted to be a published author? Or how about, would you like to travel the world to get paid to speak and tell others of your story and how others could get over? Would you like to be a Amazon